What's going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today we're going to talk to you about PayPal. I want to give you an overview of some of the current data points with their earnings right around the corner. I want to give you an overview of what analysts have been doing recently. And then finally, whether right now should be a time to buy or not. Before I get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So at the time of doing this video, it is up 0.88%. Market's been open about an hour and a half. 2.1 million shares been traded. 11.1 is the average. So a little bit low for the volume. But you do see big money really getting into PayPal first thing, and you can see that based on the bid, the ask, and the selling price. So a lot of buying. As of late, it looks like some institutions are starting to sell, thus causing it to kind of go down, but still it is on institutions' radar, despite there not being all that much news. So a lot of the news as of late has just been fluff, and I did say that during my last video, or actually a lot of my PayPal videos. I say that a lot of their news is just truly fluff, no reason to drop what you're doing and go buy it. So it is just one of those weird scenarios, but they do have their earnings roughly 1 week away. So on the 30th pre-market, and it looks like $1.22 is the estimated for earnings per share and 7.52 billion for revenue. Just to give you a good overview of what analysts have been anticipating, or at least changing. So they did recently become a little bit more bullish. So previously there were 33 analysts with a consensus of $1.20 for the earnings per share. Now there's 32 with $1.21. Obviously the other websites rounding it up, but essentially you did have one bearish analyst remove their rating. So I think that's kind of good. And looking at revenue, currently it looks like about 31 analysts with a consensus of 7.51 billion. So no real change for that. And historically, even though last earnings was very volatile, that's because they did fail to give good future guidance. They typically do always exceed their at least revenue for compared to analysts. So I think that might be no different than this time around. So we'll just have to wait and see. But at the time of doing this video, I think one reason why it's been going down so much is due to the technicals. And that's actually one thing I did bring up in my last video, that I did anticipate that it was actually going to be heading to this range. So hopefully a lot of you guys did sell the covered calls like myself, because you can definitely make some pretty good money based on that, or you could just essentially buy puts. But right now, based on the Elliott Wave technicals, it does have a pivot point of $64.60. So for as long as it is trading below this, then it is anticipated to get back into the 55 range to 57. So very volatile. And once I go over the technicals a little bit closer, this is where you will see very wide gaps. So a lot of volatility in the foreseeable future. And obviously that's not to say that their earnings could really escalate this down, go faster, or it could really save it from the downtrend. Again, this 64.60 is a very strong pivot. There has been two new analyst ratings that did come out today, one bullish, one somewhat bearish. So a $60 price target by Wells Fargo, Andrew, who does have a 36% success rating, so not all that great. And then a $65 price target by Jefferies, Trevor, who has a 44% success rating. So kind of take that with a grain of salt. As a consensus though, $67.97 is anticipated, and that works out to be about 9% or 8% upside from here. So even analysts are somewhat hesitant about being so bullish on PayPal's future. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. On a side note, if you're looking for a lot of good compiled information, such as everything I just shared with you, it is completely free. Link in the description below and also the comments. One interesting thing I just wanted to share with you while I'm still on here, the latest Morningstar report, which just came out, does show the fair market value for PayPal being $104. So take that from what you will. Obviously, sometimes that can be overinflated. So aside from all of that fun stuff, let's go over some data. I like to bring up shorts, not necessarily because it's a short squeeze play or anything. I like to use this as a benchmark. So for instance, with PayPal being green and shorts not really doing all that much, kind of does validate somewhat today's green day, and obviously PayPal is piggybacking off of the broader market. 2.07% of the free float is being shorted, 21.7 million shares overall are being shorted, and the cost to borrow average is 0.4%. So definitely based on the fundamentals and the numbers here, this is not a squeeze play. But regardless, still interesting to note that they have been increasing from, it looks like February, which was around 1.78%, to now, which is, like I said, the 2.07. So it is minor, but on a percentage basis, still at least something to note. Looking at options though, $3.47 million in calls, 1.19 million in puts. Sentiment wise, 45% of all the options being done today are optimistic, and of the call options, you do see a consensus for it to be roughly around $64 by the end of this week, so more of a recovery. And then looking at the puts, you do see a consensus for it to be completely broken and sub $62. So both will make sense once I go over the technicals. So right now with it at $62.81, it is trading between this S1 and the pivot, and like I signaled on the fib levels, very wide gap, so there's going to be a lot of volatility in the foreseeable future. But right now it is kind of trending that it is going to be hitting that $60 range, and so this pivot right here was also that Elliott wave technical roughly. So right below this point is two things. So looking on the actual chart, you do have the 50 and 100-day moving average. So on Friday, so the 19th, it did bounce off of that general area, and so that's what gave it a nice kind of high, at least a little bit today. So that's what also is happening with the broader market. But still, in my opinion, given the fear that is in the market and just the anticipated or lack of anticipated rate hikes now, I think just that it will continue to trend down. And just to give you a good overview, the fear and greed index is at 33. So in my opinion, I do feel it is going to be continuing to trend down past this S1, and I just have a weird hunch. I have no real kind of basis for this, but I think that their earnings is going to be in line with expectations, but again, they are going to fail to really give good optimistic future guidance, which again will really kill it, causing it to get between probably this S2 to this S1 range, but that's just a small step essentially before that whole Elliott wave technicals comes into play. So it is something to note. Hopefully if the company does put out something of substance during their earnings or before that, then you could see a value rally. So that could really help because stochastic is at 13, so that is very oversold, but still regardless, you need something to come out sooner rather than later. Number of retail investors have been getting in, but in my opinion, I feel like PayPal is definitely not a buy right now. So let me know your thoughts on all of this. If you disagree with me, completely fine. Let me know in the comments below why you do disagree with me. So don't forget to hit that thumbs up, and with all that, I appreciate all of you watching.